All right, everybody, welcome back to Food for Thought. The topic of conversation for today's episode is just going to be me talking about my temptations in life and specifically with food because that's something that I've struggled with over the past, I don't know how long, few months. And it's something that I just want to talk about, just get out there. So let's hop straight into it. So for me, my diet was never really an issue for me in terms of temptations and stuff like that while I was growing up. Actually, let me really quickly do the ingredients for today. Eggs, it's gonna be the same ingredients as yesterday actually, so yeah. What was I saying? Yes, okay. Eggs there. Then in the toaster, as per usual, 2 slices of toast in there. Smoked salmon, again, as per usual. We got the guacamole for makeshift avocado toast, which is actually pretty good, to be fair. Secret ingredient, Vegeta for the eggs. Try it out if you haven't tried it before. Salt. Some paprika. Ooh, this thing is feeling a little sticky. I don't like that at all. Let me just give it a quick wipe down. I don't like when stuff is sticky. Okay. That was a quick detour. We got black pepper as well. Butter, just a little bit for the pan, which I'll actually cut right now so I can put on. Little dollop of butter, get that on the pan. And this is going straight back in the fridge. All right, and that's basically it for the ingredients, so let's hop straight into it. So for me, struggling with temptations with food was never really an issue for me growing up. Maybe partially because I didn't really care as much as I do now about what I eat, obviously when I was a kid. But also, I was one of those kids I was kind of skinny fat, but I wasn't really that fat necessarily. I've had people call me skinny before, so it wasn't really an issue for me trying to not gain weight was not an issue. Actually, what started out as an issue for me was when I started trying to gain weight. I was having trouble eating enough food to gain weight. But that dynamic has shifted completely. When I was my heaviest, I was probably at about 182 pounds-ish. And right now I'm sitting pretty at around 162. And I lost a bit of weight last year because I wanted to get lean for football, and now I'm trying to gain some weight again because I'm putting less emphasis on football and I just like being heavier and bigger, especially because I'm trying to put on some muscle at the gym as well. But anyway, I'd say over this summer is when first of all, last year when I was losing weight when I was trying to lose weight for football, for soccer, that's when I'd say my relationship with food deteriorated a little bit because I really wanted to be able to track my calories and stuff, and I didn't have the chance to do that because I was on a meal plan and they didn't tell me what was in the food that I was eating in terms of calories and stuff like that. And that was tough for me because, I really wanted to be able to track my food and I really wanted to start eating healthier, and to not know what was going into the food that I was eating kind of just made me upset. And I think I kind of developed an obsession like that, maybe a little bit, about the food that I eat, because then as I came back for summer, I started tracking all of my stuff and really getting into that side of eating, which is not a bad thing, by the way. But it could be a bad thing if you let it become one, because it can become an unhealthy habit very quickly. And for me, I think that's what it did become, because now it sort of just developed over time, because I do have a sweet tooth and stuff like that, and I was being very restrictive on my diet at first. I remember my parents came to visit me for my birthday, and I didn't eat any slice of my birthday cake because I wanted to stay, eat healthy, quote unquote, right? And it's not unhealthy to have a piece of cake on your birthday. So that just might give you a little bit of context. I was being very restrictive on my diet. And then especially like I said, as summer came and I was able to control what I was eating back home and to measure all my calories and measure all the food I was intaking, stuff like that. That's when, for me, maybe the issues probably started back at school, but I was eating good for a little bit there. I wasn't having any too many issues with temptation or anything like that. Probably because all the food that I was eating was relatively new, but then as I kept eating the same stuff over and over again, I kind of get bored of doing that to a certain extent, because the stuff that I was eating was just mostly like bulk prepared food and stuff like that. Meal prepping type of stuff, which is not bad, but for me it got a little bit boring. But then at the same time, I also didn't want to eat other stuff, or I didn't know how to cook other stuff. And anyway, long story short, my relationship with food deteriorated a decent amount, and it got to the point where I feel guilty for eating bad things, so I don't let myself eat, or bad things. Like, I feel guilty for eating, quote unquote unhealthy things, fast food, desserts, stuff like that. I feel bad for eating those types of things because I know that they're not good for my health. And another aspect that's come with this has been because of my studies in kin and because of my studies of health and things of that nature. I now know how important a healthy diet is just for maintaining general health, which has kind of made me demonize in my mind these specific things like desserts and fast food and all of that stuff. So I didn't let myself have any of those for the longest time. But then what that led to was a sort of scarcity mindset, where when I did allow myself to have those things, because occasionally I would here and there, when I did allow myself to have those things, it was like the floodgates just opened. I couldn't control myself. And this still affects me, by the way, today. I remember over Halloween, I went to a little Halloween gathering, get together with friends, and there was just a bunch of candy there. And I told myself on that day, I was like, okay, I'm gonna let myself just eat candy today. It's Halloween. I'll let myself eat some candy. And I ate so much candy that day. It was like I was 6 years old again, just stuffing my face with candy. And I haven't been like that in a while, and it's just like I couldn't even couldn't even control myself, you know? Which was weird, and I did not, I don't like being like that in a state where I feel like I'm out of control for my temptations. And I think that that all stems just from me being over restrictive in my diet and maybe some of my personality as well. Maybe I'm so, I don't want to say predisposed, but whenever I get into something, I'm usually all in, right? So for me, I've been really trying to repair my relationship with food recently because I realized that it is pretty unhealthy, and there's something that I got to do about it because I don't want to have that sort of relationship with food. I just want to be able to eat normally and to not have to worry about what I'm eating because I can make those choices. I can make those healthy choices by myself without, feeling like without feeling like I need to and I don't want to make those choices, if that makes sense. And let me just write that down. So what's that's led to for me is that I've been trying to track my calories less rigorously. I'm just doing this because I'm tracking mostly my protein intake right now. Because I do want to put on muscle, as I said. So that's what I'm mostly tracking. And I'm just trying to let myself generally intuitively eat, but I've developed a mindset where even when I'm not hungry, I still feel like I want to eat more food. And it's very weird because I'll have a big meal and for some reason I still feel like I want to eat more food. And I'm just like, I don't know why I feel like that. Well, to be honest, I kind of do know why I feel like that. I think it's because I've been so restrictive over the past while. And I remember I've been a big advocate for tracking your calories and stuff like that. But to be honest, this is probably a product of that. So I feel like unless you have very specific goals, you may not need to track your calories so intensely, but if it is going to work. That's the thing. Tracking your calories does work. So if you need results, then that's a good thing. But also be aware of your personality, and I'd say try not to let it develop into something like this because it's unhealthy to have this type of relationship with food where anytime you let yourself indulge in a treat or something like that, you feel like you can't control yourself and you need to eat more even though you're not hungry and all that kind of stuff. So that's breakfast for today. I have more to talk about on this topic, so maybe that's what I'll talk about in the next episode. Just continue on this. But quick recap for today. I think that eating healthy food is good and you should do it, but you shouldn't eat only healthy food, or at least I haven't found a way to literally eat only healthy food or healthy. It's so arbitrary what's considered healthy, what's considered unhealthy. I think that generally people should try and avoid ultra processed foods and stuff like that, but be careful of your relationship with food becoming something similar to an eating disorder, and just try to maintain a healthy body weight, healthy body composition, and yeah, there's not really a moral to the story, a final point, and a claim, an argument, anything like that to today's episode. It was just me talking about my struggles with food. And also another aspect of that was that I become really into cooking recently, as you guys know. So that adds an interesting dynamic because a lot of restaurant type cooking and stuff like that involves maximizing for taste and not really looking at health too much in terms of the meal. So that's been an interesting dynamic as well. But thank you guys for watching. We'll talk more about this on the next episode, and I'll see you guys next time.